Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everyone. This is the second session of KOSH trivia quiz. Couple of days back, we had conducted the first session, and due to the awesome feedback that I got, a couple of thousand views and 700 odd likes and comments, I decided that I should be conducting another session. For our beloved viewers. And here I am after a couple of days with another session of KOSH trivia quiz. So without wasting any further time, let's move straight ahead to the questions. Now, last time I had 15 questions, so this time I have come due to the awesome response. I've decided to reduce the number of questions to just 12. But anyhow, we'll see the response that I get in this session and decide whether to go ahead with it or not. So anyhow, let's move ahead and go into the first question. According to one particular website, the first logo of X was created in 1996, just after its release. So we're talking about something X, and its first logo was created in 1996, just after it was released. The logo was prototyped as a blue coffee cup with red steam above it. Apparently, it was a recognition for the engineers of X who used to have a lot of coffee while developing X. So the engineers used to have a lot of coffee, and hence, as an homage to that, the logo had a blue coffee cup on it. The coffee that they used to consume was X coffee beans. The X logo is now instantly recognizable and has become an iconic symbol in the industry, and brilliantly shows how entities extremely far from each other can work together in building a strong brand. IDX. So that's the question. Blue coffee cup, red beans. This is what the question is. So I'm not seeing any answers. Does anyone have any answers? Hello. So the answer is, I think it's pretty obvious. Since no one is going to attempt it, I'll just give it away. The answer is nothing but Java. So Java is a programming language which was developed in 1996, and the uh, logo included a blue coffee cup with red steam coming out of it. So this was the idea behind the logo. The engineers used to have a lot of coffee which used to come from Java beans from Indonesia, Java coffee beans from Indonesia. Now, the idea behind the quiz is that each answer to a particular question will form the basis of the next succeeding question. So now, since the answer that we got was Java, this Java will be a base or a foundation for the next question. So the next question, question number 2, is this. Java coffee comes from the Java island, which is part of Indonesia. Indonesia got its independence from Dutch rule formally in 1949. However, in 1945 itself, Indonesia had proclaimed independence. During the next 4 years, there was an armed conflict between Indonesian people and Dutch army for the control of Indonesia. I think the font is too small. I'll look into it. Too much text was involved, so that's the reason that the font is small. Anyhow, I believe it's pretty readable. India too supported Indonesia in its freedom struggle. Particularly, X was asked by Nehru to fly Sultan Sujahir, a prominent Indonesian freedom fighter and then Vice President Muhammad Hatta, out of Java so that they could broadcast Indonesia's plight to the rest of the world. On his way from Singapore to the Java Islands, the Dutch had threatened to shoot down X's aircraft, but nothing stopped him. He safely flew Sajahir and Hatta to Singapore and thereafter to India. In 1950, the Indonesian government rewarded X with a piece of forest land and a palatial building, but he did not accept the offer. He was also given an honorary citizenship of Indonesia and awarded the Bhumi Putra, a recognition rarely granted to a foreigner. So, who is this Indian who had a very vital role in Indonesian freedom struggle and was awarded the Bhumi Putra, which is a rare, in a very rare occasion, to be awarded to a foreigner? Who is this person? Since I see a lot of people giving their answers on YouTube chat, I think it should be, I mean, it's pretty crackable. There are ample number of hints in there. He was a pilot, of course, because he was asked by Nehru to fly the Indonesian freedom fighter from Indonesia to India. Well, I'm going to give you the answer since I don't see anyone getting it. The answer is Biju Patnaik. Biju Patnaik of Odisha was the one who traveled all the way back to Indonesia and took the freedom fighters there and brought them to India. So Biju Patnaik was the one who was granted, who was awarded with the Bhumi Putra award by the Indonesian government. Moving on, now that we know that the answer to the second question was Biju Patnaik, he will form the basis for the next question. That is how we planned the questions. So the next question is, Biju Patnaik had served twice as the Chief Minister of Odisha. His son Naveen Patnaik is one of the longest serving Chief Ministers of any Indian state. He is also the president of the political party Biju Janata Dal and has authored 3 books. He is also one among the several founding members of X, whose logo is given aside. So you can see the logo that's just besides the text. The logo is based on the anthropomorphic copper figure from Shahabad, Uttar Pradesh, belonging to the copper hordes of Ganga Valley around the years 1800 to 1700 BC. Now the question is, Naveen Patnaik is one of the founding members of this organization whose logo has been given aside. So identify this organization which had, apart from Naveen Patnaik, many other famous luminaries on its founding board, including Captain Amrinder Singh, Yamini Krishnamurti and several others. So which is this organization whose logo is the one that you're seeing here? So I'm giving the answer away since I'm not seeing any correct answer on the chat board. The answer is INTAC, Indian National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, a very famous organization, even recognized by UNESCO in matters of art and culture. INTAC, Naveen Patnaik was one of the founding members of INTAC. Moving on, so now we know that INTAC will be the base for the next question. Question number 4. We'll move on to the question number 4. INTAC has its office in Lodhi Estate, New Delhi. Among several iconic landmarks in the Lodhi Estate area, one particularly famous building is the India Habitat Center, which is one of India's most comprehensive convention centers that is aimed at bringing individuals and institutions working in diverse habitat and environment related areas together. So INTAC has its office in Lodhi Estate, and one particular building which is quite famous and which is present in Lodhi Estate is the India Habitat Center. Perhaps those who have who are have already visited Delhi and who reside there might well be aware of India Habitat Center. Who was the architect behind India Habitat Center and several other landmark structures in central Delhi? So that is the question. You have to identify the architect behind the iconic structure. Now, if you have to name others, there is also the India International Center in Delhi, and there are several others. In fact, the entire area of Lodi Estate is now particularly known by another name, which is based out of which has been taken out from this architect's name. So we have to identify who is this particular architect that we are talking about. I see that at least three people are watching this live video. So perhaps any of you could guess, other than those who already know the answer. I mean, who are already aware of the questions when I was streaming them. If any of you could perhaps guess who this particular architect is. So since I don't see any answers on the chat board, I'll give it away. The answer is Joseph Allenstein. Joseph Allenstein is was a very famous architect who had a very prominent role to play in the establishment of Central Delhi, the India Habitat Center, India International Center, and he had a very big contribution down south also. Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, was one of the creations, I mean, design. There were other architects also, a group of three architects, one among which was Joseph Allenstein. He had also had a contribution in the California school system. He had designed many buildings there. And the answer to that question, Central Delhi is now, I mean, at a time used to be known as Steinabad, perhaps as a reference or a reminder of the fact that many buildings in that area, many iconic landmarks, have been designed by Joseph Allenstein. So hence the name Steinabad. Moving on. So we know the fifth question will be based on, I mean, perhaps the starting will be based on Joseph Allenstein. Moving on to the fifth question. Joseph Allenstein has designed several iconic buildings in India, one among which is the Express Towers in Mumbai. The building served as the corporate headquarters of X, which is one of the leading newspapers in India. So we already know Joseph Allenstein was the architect behind India Habitat Center, but apart from that, he had also created, I already told you, I am Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, and one particular building, Express Towers in Mumbai, the background of which is already visible on your slide. So we have to identify a particular newspaper in India, newspaper company in India used to have their headquarters. Now it's no longer their headquarters, but at a time it used to be their headquarters. Express Towers. You have to identify the name of the newspaper. So I see Ashwin Haridas giving the answer Baker. Now Ashwin, I'm not sure whether you're going for the newspaper or you were referring to the okay. I'm sorry. I didn't. You are giving the answer to that particular architect. Okay. Anyhow, it was not Baker. It was Joseph Allenstein. I think I'm seeing the chat after a while because I didn't realize there was someone who was actually viewing this live stream. Anyhow, thanks for the comment. Ashwin, if are you still live there? Could you comment on this? Whether you have any idea about which newspaper is this particular Express Towers headquarters of? I think Ashwin is no longer live. Anyhow, anyone else could guess? Okay, I'll give the answer away. It's the Indian Express. So perhaps a clue was there in the question itself. Express Towers used to be the headquarters of the Indian Express. Now it's no longer the headquarters. I believe the building has been entirely bought out by a realty firm. Okay, Ashwin had given the Hindu. I'm seeing chat. Okay, the Hindu. Okay, that's a very good guess. I'll give it to you, Ashwin. The answer is the Indian Express. Cool. Okay. Now we know that the next question will be starting from the Indian Express. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 6. The Indian Express and several newspapers have changed the way the society functions. One particular example of this is the impact made by the Times newspaper of London. In 1929, the Times hired typographer Stanley Morrison to create a new text font. Morrison recommended that the Times change their text typeface from a 19th century face to a more robust, solid design, returning to traditions of printing from the 18th century and before. Thus, the new font X was created, which has become one of the most popular typefaces of all time and is installed on most desktop computers. So perhaps this is a very clear cut answer. All the clues are there in the question itself. You have to identify the typeface, or rather the font, which is one of the most popular fonts recognizable throughout the world. The hint is there in the question itself. It was created for the Times newspaper of London on the recommendation of Stanley Morrison. Perhaps if Ashwin could give us the answer to this question. Ashwin, are you there? Times New Roman. Excellent, excellent, Ashwin. You've got the correct answer. Excellent. It's the correct answer. Times New Roman was created in 1929 as a way for the newspaper to go back to the 19th century font. Excellent. So I can add you to the leaderboard. Ashwin Haridas will certainly be on my leaderboard for the next session too. I'll certainly make sure you're the one on the number 1 rank. So moving on, we'll move on to the next question, number 7. Since the last question was based on a font, the next question will start with a font. Many fonts such as Times New Roman have very interesting theories of origin. For instance, where are you most likely to find fonts being named after major world cities? So here you can see a font named Chicago, then there is Geneva, and then there is a compilation of all those fonts: Chicago, Monaco, Geneva, Cairo, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Toronto, Venice, and then Geneva italics and Chicago outline. So, in which electronic device, since it's an electronic font, where are you most likely to find, or perhaps there is one particular place where you are 100% chance that you will find these fonts? Perhaps my only viewer Ashwin could give the answer to this question. Ashwin, we are waiting for your I think it's a little bit difficult. Perhaps some of you who know how the Chicago font is particularly interesting because of the fact, don't know. Okay, I guess it's a little bit tricky. I don't think there are much clues in it. Okay, the answer is these were fonts designed for Macintosh operating system of Apple computer. These were originally designed for Susan Carey. I think she was the designer who designed these fonts, and these were exclusively made for the Macintosh operating system, Mac OS of the of Apple company. Many of these fonts are still used, while some of them have been retired. Moving on, so we have introduced a new character, Apple computers. The next question will be starting with Apple computer. Let's go to question number 8. Speaking of Apple products, there is one common thing present in each year's Apple's promotional event, where they launch a new product. Every single Apple product in every promotional photo is set to 9:41 a.m. What is the relevance of 9:41 a.m.? Why is every Apple product which they display on their screens, which they showcase to the entire world, why is the time, be it on the lock screen, be it on the open screen, whether they are showing any windows, any apps, the time shown on any of these photos will certainly be 9:41 a.m. Why? That's the question. It's a very, interesting trivia about Apple. As to for those of you who are fanboys of Apple. Perhaps this is something that you should know. This has to do with, I'll give a clue. This has to do with the the release of the first iPhone. So everything started from there. Maybe the first launch. Yes, yes. Ashwin is. I need the specific answer. If you could just be a little bit more specific. First launch. That's correct. But what happened at the first launch that led them to uh, show the time as 9:41? Okay, so I think I'll. Ashwin is going on the right track, but I think I'll narrow it down, or rather, I'll give it away. I'll give the answer away because I think the answer is the 9:41 a.m. time displayed on iPhone and iPad advertisements is the time when the original iPhone was announced by Steve Jobs in 2007. So the idea was that the product is usually revealed around 40 minutes into the presentation. So the presentation started at around 9 a.m. in the morning, and at around 40 minutes past 9, which is 9:40, or you add an extra minute to it to cover delays. So it was expected that Steve Jobs would be revealing the first iPhone at around 9:41. And so they, from there on, they made it a point, since the first iPhone was launched, rather revealed to the world at 9:41, they made it a point, or rather an homage or a reference to the iconic man behind the reveal itself. They made it a point to ensure that every other reveal or every other product showcase since then has to have 9:41 on the time. So that was the interesting trivia about why the time shown on the Apple products on the uh, release day is 9:41. So moving on, we've already shown we are into Apple. We've already shown Apple computers, we're into iPhone, and we'll have a little bit more trivia about Apple. Moving on to the question number 9. Apple has some of the world's most iconic marketing campaigns. During the period 1997-2002, Apple had an ad campaign named Think Different. One of the TV advertisements for the Think Different series included 17 iconic 20th century personalities such as Albert Einstein, Bob Dylan, Martin Luther King Jr., Richard Branson, John Lennon, Buckminster Fuller, Thomas Edison, etc. There was only one Indian personality in this ad. Who was this Indian personality? So what we are seeing is Albert Einstein's photo, which was part of this Think Different ad series by Apple. Who was that only one Indian personality who was part of this ad series? Ashwin, are you there? If you could just have a guess, have a go at it as to who you think was part of this ad series. Very iconic ad series. There were two versions of it. One narrated by Steve Jobs and the other one narrated by some other person. I don't recall the name. The final TV preview was for the one without the other than the Steve Jobs version. But as a matter of respect to Steve Jobs, they played it, I think, on the death anniversary of Steve Jobs. So if Ashwin could perhaps make a guess or make a go at who this person was. I think Ashwin is no longer. Are you there, Ashwin? Could you just perhaps make a guess? Yes, 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 yes. That's the correct answer. Ashwin has given it away. The answer is Mahatma Gandhi. That's excellent. Mahatma Gandhi was the only Indian personality who was part of the Think Different series of ads by Apple. So now we've moved away from Apple, and now we have brought in our own Mahatma Gandhi into the questions. Now, three more questions to go. We'll move on to the question number 10. Here's question number 10. Mahatma Gandhi helped establish three football clubs, all named ex-soccer club, in the 1900s during his stay in South Africa. Gandhi used football for his fight against racial discrimination and would talk to the teams at halftime about the principles of non-violent resistance and distributed pamphlets to spectators addressing the issue. So the question is, the name of all these three clubs was X Soccer Club. What is X? That's the question. For those of you who are aware of Gandhiji's philosophy, there were certain very commonly used terms uh, which are almost as if linked on to Gandhiji. If you think about Gandhiji, then these terms are certainly. Yes, Ashwin gets the answer. Passive resistors is the correct answer. The name of the. Oh, you knew it. I knew it very well, Ashwin. I think I'll certainly make sure that your name will certainly be on the leaderboard. So this is the plan that I'm designing. I'm planning to conduct these quizzes every twice in a week. This will be held, and this will be a continuing leaderboard. So Ashwin, who has been answering today, will certainly feature on the next session's leaderboard as well. And perhaps at the end of these sessions, I am going to give away a prize. I'm not going to disclose what the prize is right now, but there will be certainly a very attractive prize at the end of all these sessions. I don't know how many of these sessions will be there, but certainly an ample number of will be there. So certainly an attractive prize will be there for whoever is the leader on the top of the leaderboard. So currently Ashwin Haridas is the one who is getting it. He's given it away. Correct answer is Passive Resistors Soccer Club. Passive resistance is one of the iconic, rather a very innovative concept which was introduced by Gandhiji. So we've brought in passive resistors, passive resistance, or rather resistance. We'll move on to question number 11. Resistance is the refusal to accept or comply with something. In electrical science, resistance is the measure of opposition to the flow of electric current. While the unit of electrical resistance is ohm, what is the standard? Perhaps you could correct it. It's actually standard symbol. Please read it symbol, not the standard unit. What is the standard symbol used to denote electrical resistance? So I want the symbol. Unit we already know, it's ohm. If you could just tell me what is the standard symbol used to denote electrical resistance. Anyhow, I'll just correct it. What is the standard symbol? Okay, yes, Ashwin is nailing it hard right. He's given it the correct answer. The standard symbol used to denote electrical resistance is nothing but omega. Omega is the unit, or rather the symbol. The unit is ohm. The symbol is omega, the Greek symbol. Omega is what you're seeing on your screens. Okay, moving on. So omega will be the base for our next question, which is the last question, question number 12. I wanted to create 15 questions, but it's too difficult to connect all this into a meaningful set of questions. Otherwise, I would have simply created anything. But that doesn't make any, it has to be fun also. We are on to the last question of today's session. Ashwin Haridas has completely nailed it throughout. We'll move on to the last question. Since 1995, X has worn Omega Seamaster watches in every film. Over the years, Omega watches have also created special limited edition timepieces as a special homage to the legacy of X and the entire franchise. Who is X? That's the question. So before 1995, another company used to have their watches worn by X. But since 1995, Omega Seamaster watch. Omega is a very famous watchmaking company who have also been the timekeepers at Olympics and several other sporting events. So tell me, who is that particular X? Who is that person who has worn Omega Seamaster watches in every film since 1995? A very very iconic character. Perhaps if you know that character, you will be able to recognize there are certain items or things which are associated with this character throughout. If you think about it, you'll certainly able to recall those items one after the other. So if Ashwin could guess this the final question, correct answer, Who is X? Who is that person who has worn Omega Seamaster watches in every film? Ashwin, do you have any idea? Are you going for it? More clues. You need more clues. Okay. What if I told you, since you already know that it's in the question itself that it's a movie character? Hmm, what if I told you that more than one person has played this character on film? What if is that enough for a clue? That character has been played by, I mean, more than two, more than three. Will you be able to decipher the answer from that clue? Spider-Man. Okay, that's a good guess, but I don't see Spider-Man wearing his outfit and looking into his Omega Seamaster watch. I mean, that's a too classy watch for a person who's just swinging around in his webs and shooting webs throughout his neighborhood. Uh, that is a very good guess. I'll give you that. But we're looking for a more, sophisticated person. Yes, you've nailed it. James Bond is the correct answer. James Bond is the one. In this picture, you can see Daniel Craig was the latest James Bond wearing that Omega Seamaster watch. So James Bond character. I just mentioned that there are certain items which are associated with the James Bond. Martini shaken but not stirred. Then there is this Omega watch. So that was a very good guess. Spider-Man certainly a very good guess. So that was it. We have reached at the end of our quiz. A special thanks to Ashwin who was there throughout with us. Certainly, I expect Ashwin to be there for the next session also. A very good participation from Ashwin, and I'll ask Ashwin to certainly share this with others also, and ask them to perhaps spread the word about this session. If you have any comments, certainly do write on the chat box. I'll certainly go through them. Any suggestions? I do want to add more sports-based questions because I felt those were missing a lot. Anyhow, that's it for today. We'll meet again perhaps in a couple of days. I'm planning one on Monday perhaps. Or if you want it a little bit more earlier than that, you can tell me perhaps any more ideas that you have. So that's it for the day. Have a good night. Bye.